Hey everyone! One of the biggest and coolest collaborations from Final Fantasy has dropped with the Magic the Gathering trading card game, and today I want to go through these cards to explain the reason to be. I have no idea how to play Magic, so I won't talk about the gameplay, but rather focusing on the reference and lore that each card is alluding to, because I think they've done a fantastic job and reminded me how incredible a fictional world can be when presented with such care and affection. I'll try to go through the cards in the next order. Characters focused cards, standalone summon cards, then go through the event cards that are the most interesting ones to explain what they are referencing, next the terrain or land ones that mostly focus on locations, and lastly a surprise category. I'm also going to ignore the ones that are very generic, no normal items like elixirs or phoenix downs, or very generic mascots like Moogles or Thornberries without a specific lore to one game. Make sure to like, subscribe, etc. and enjoy the summary. Warrior of Light, the original main character of the series, known simply as that. That's the title given to the group of 4 playable characters that constitutes your party. Neither of them have an actual name, and this warrior design was created by the original artist of the series, Yoshitaka Amano, that is featured in things like the logo itself, over the sprite that has red hair and armor. Princess Sarah, the princess of the first and main city we arrived in, Cornelia. In the first mission we rescue her after being kidnapped by the main antagonist, and send us on a journey to recover the crystal's powers, which keep the balance in this world. Her name eventually became a recurring one for future Final Fantasy characters. Garland, Knight of Cornelia. Garland is the very first boss fight in the series. A knight from Cornelia that kidnapped the princess and we get to save her by defeating him. The illustration is based on his pose during it. The bottom text in the card references his words before the fight, which became some sort of a meme of those early translations. If you flip the card, we have Chaos the Endless. This is because Garland, after that defeat, was sent to the past and created a time loop that we get to break at the end of the game by killing his alter ego, Chaos, the final boss fight of the game. That's why the bottom text talks about coming back endlessly. Warrior's Sword, Monk's Fist, Thief's Knife, Black Mage Rod, White Mage Staff, and Red Mage Rapier are all illustrations based on the sprite work that focuses on the 6 playable jobs and their weapons. The warrior with the mentioned red hair and armor, the monk with the blue gi, the thief and its original blue hair sprite, and the iconic outfit of the black, white and red mage that would prevail through time. Town Greeter. The illustration and flavor text of this card refers to the initial town of the game, Cornelia. When the game starts, you spawn in front of it, so you are able to visit the town or the castle, with this NPC welcoming you just like the card says. Dragon of Mount Gulg. Another official art by Yoshitaka Amano, in which the Warrior of Light is fighting a dragon at Mount Gulg, the volcano and dungeon of the Fire Crystal. Adventurer's Airship. A classic feature in the series since the first game is obtaining an airship at some point of the game that allows the player to travel through the world freely, being this the first one. The Cloudsea Djinn. Official art by Yoshitaka Amano. It features the 4 Warriors of Light fighting an entity called Cloudsea Djinn. And who is that? That's a great question actually. I don't know how official it is, but there are clear hints that this is an alternate version of Garland himself in the concept art. This is the design that he has in his alternative costume in spin-offs, for example. Slash of Light, an illustration of the Warrior of Light dealing the final blow to Chaos, finishing the quest and showing the credits as the bottom text displays. Starting Town. As the name implies, this refers to the first town you are able to visit, Cornelia, with the castle in the background. The flavor text refers to the prophecy that is told at the opening of the game. When darkness veils the world, 4 Warriors of Light shall come. Mountain. The place used in this illustration is Mount Gulg, which is a volcano and serves as the dungeon of the Fiend of Fire, Marilith, as seen by the lava in the drawing. Firion Swordmaster and Firion the White Rose both refer to the protagonist of Final Fantasy II, designed by Yoshitaka Amano and holding the Blood Sword, as he usually is shown with. A sword that allows you to cheese through the final boss of the game by its HP drain ability. In these illustrations he seems to be inside the final dungeon of the game, Pandemonium, if I'm not mistaken. Minu, Rebellion Strategist, and Minu, White Mage, the princess' right-hand advisor and our first guest playable character. He's also the first and one of the very few male white mages in the series, if we don't count any customizable one, wearing a white turban and cloth that covers his face. Emperor Hell Tyrant and the Emperor of Palamecia. the main antagonist of the game that didn't have an actual name originally, known simply as Emperor, ruler of the Palamesian kingdom who conquered most of the land since the start of the game. If you flip Emperor of Palamesia, you get his final form, Lord Master of Hell. This title is quite literal because the Emperor is actually defeated in the late game, but he makes a return for the final stretch directly from Hell, acting as a straight up Satan in a way. Too angry to die. Wild Rose Rebellion. Official art by Amano, representing the name of the rebel group we take part from that we joined at the start of the game, the White Rose, which is why Firion is also known with that title. In the illustration we have the group of Firion, Maria, Guy and Leon, with the Emperor in the back. Random Encounter, the classic feature in RPGs of triggering a battle against a specific set of enemies randomly as you go through the land, featuring some of these from Final Fantasy II in the illustration. Commune with Beavers, probably my main inspiration to highlight these cards, as this is a scene of the game where one of the main three characters, Guy, suddenly is able to talk with a race known simply as Beavers to go through their secret place in the Snow Cave. A simply short moment that is very goofy making it into a card, shows to me how magical this collaboration can be. Colosseum Behemoth, a boss fight at the Palamesian Colosseum against the Behemoth, a recurring beast of the series, that serves as a test to be able to talk with the Emperor to rescue our Princess Hilda. Swallowed by Leviathan. The Leviathan debuted in this game not as a summon or a boss, but as a creature that swallows you while traveling on ship, and its insides are treated as its own dungeon. Ecties, a recurring enemy found at the Jade Passage before Pandemonium that debuted in this game and later appeared in many others. It's a big blob with many eyes over its body, making it very creepy. The swamp card for Final Fantasy II might be an illustration of the place Semit falls in the game. I'm not 100% sure, but the waterfall seems to indicate this, and the fact that they venture further within the cave to retrieve the Mithril, and the stones that are shown in the illustration could be those. Crossroads Village. The town in this card, judging by the bottom text, is Bavsk, where the Imperial airship the Dreadnought was built and you infiltrate to sabotage it, but it's already complete and destroys many other towns. Sid, Timeless Artificer. And lastly, a card dedicated to the character Sid, a name given to those that are heavily associated with engineering and airships in Final Fantasy, as it's the case here, standing at the pub of the city of Puft, where you usually find him most of the game to use his airship. Hero of Light is an illustration from Yoshitaka Amano, concept art of the Warrior Light of the game, that ended up being the base for the logo of the game. Master Sande and Sande Dark Mage, an Archmage who, after being granted the gift of mortality, starts to fall into madness and despair. He's the main antagonist of the game, but not the final boss. Cloud of Darkness. This is the final boss of the game, the manifestation of the void that attempts to fill with darkness the world. Looks like an eldritch abomination with feminine features. The particle beam attack, shown in the card, is used in the game to defeat the party in the first unbeatable fight. The Crystals Chosen. This card represents the start of the game. 4 kids fall into a cave, and at the end of it, a crystal will react and choose them as the new 4 Warriors of Light, known mostly as Onion Knights. The Wind, Fire, Water and Earth Crystal are all illustrations of each of the elemental crystals that exist in this game, in the order you reach them. The particularity here is that after cleansing each one, you get access to more jobs or classes for your characters to use. Crystal of Altar Cave is an official art that represents the importance of the theme of the crystals in this game. The illustration is from the 3D release of the game for the Nintendo DS. To the Crystal Tower. This is the final dungeon of the game, known for its length and the lack of save point, which fans gladly remind Sakaguchi about till this day, as the Crystal Tower remains an iconic place in Final Fantasy thanks to the MMO Final Fantasy XIV. The official illustration is actually from the 3D release of the game for the Nintendo DS, not the original one. The Darkness Crystal. This game has an equivalent to the Legend of the Crystals, that is the Dark Crystal, with its own Warrior of Darkness. They are the counterparts of the original. Ahriman. Each of the 4 Crystals of Dark has a boss fight, and this is one of them. While it debuted here, it became a recurring enemy appearance in the series. Forest. Starting from the previous game, your way to interact and find chocobos will be to find them at the specific forest that you can find in the world map. That's why this card focuses on these bird friends hanging out there. And lastly, once again, Sid, Timeless Artificer. In this illustration we see the inventor working on the Wheel of Time, a material to turn the ship Enterprise into an airship. Cecil Harvey, and Cecil Dark Knight, protagonist of the game that starts as the Dark Knight class, but if you flip the card, you can see him being a redeemed paladin instead, as his journey is mainly about redemption, fleeing his kingdom, fighting himself and changing his job class to a paladin, more of a holy knight in contrast. Copy is a token card that represents the moment where Dark Knight Cecil faces himself to become a paladin at Mount Ordeal. Cain, Traitorous Dragoon, a playable character, Cecil's childhood friend and brother-in-arms, who has represented the Dragoon class in the series since then, using lances, jumping high, and having affinity with actual dragons. The title Traitorous is because he falls under the main antagonist spell that manipulates him and becomes an enemy for part of the game. Rosa, Resolute White Mage, playable character and Cecil's love interest. She is the white mage of the game and first female one of the series, although also uses a bow and arrow to attack. They are also the first romantic couple in the series that eventually marry and have a son together. Rydia, Summoner of Mist, a young kid from the village of Summoners. She joins Cecil as he tries to redeem himself for the destruction of her home, and later comes back as an adult after training in the Land of Summons, where time flows differently. Her main summon is the Mist Dragon. Tela, Great Sage, a temporary party member, one of the very few sages in the series, making him a powerful and renowned magician, casting his ultimate spell Meteor in the illustration. Golbez, Crystal Collector, and Golbez, Cloud of Darkness, the main antagonist of the game, a person from the moon who is behind the king's change of attitude to get the crystals, and leader of the 4 elemental fiends. Baron's Rivalry, an official illustration of both Cecil and Cain fighting together. The picture shows them being at an airship, fighting flying eye creatures in a similar way to how it happens at the intro of the game. Chocobo Kick. The first summon available for Rydia to use is the Chocobo, and this is its attack. The illustration shows it kicking the Antlion, the second boss fight with her in the party. Mysidian Elder. The city of Mysidia is one focused on magic, and it was invaded at the start of the game by Cecil's army. Later in the game, Cecil visits this place to get his redemption and is advised by the elders to do so. Rydia's Return shows the moment where Rydia heroically appears to save everyone from Golbez, as an adult now, being a full summoner and using her Mist Dragon to defeat Golbez's one. Dwarven Castleguard, a kingdom that exists in the underground that is habitated by the race of dwarves. This race might not be as predominant in the rest of the series, but as the flavored text shows, their greeting Lally-Ho has, whenever similar races appear in other games. Giod, King of the Dwarves, is of course the king of this castle. He becomes an ally when Golbez's forces search for the crystals underground and engage in a fight with them. Giant of Babel, official art of the giant machine made by the Lunarians to destroy life on Earth, that serves as an actual dungeon inside of it. The Lunar Whale, it's a very unique final airship of the game, summoned by the elders of Mysidia that allows you to fly to the moon, literally. Baron, Airship Kingdom, now with the land cards, this is the main city and initially the player's hometown, known for its air forces led by Cecil, but eventually becomes an enemy as the camp becomes erratic. Mountain represents the previously mentioned Mount Ordeal, where you first fight the Fiend of Earth, Scarmiglione, and then Cecil takes the trial to become a paladin. And finally Sid, Timeless Artificer. He's a playable character in this game, also an engineer that provides airships, and the illustration has him throwing himself from one of these with a bomb to seal the entrance to the underground in an heroic and maybe mortal way. Bard's Closer, protagonist of the game, in the original concept art by Yoshitaka Amano, one of the 4 new Warriors of Light, a traveler that represents the wind element. Travel the Overworld shows a little bit more of his personality trait. The bottom text is him sharing that his inspiration for traveling around the world was his parents' advice before they passed away, and his affinity with the wind element. Gilgamesh, Master at Arms. This is a unique case of a recurring boss enemy in the game, but it's so eccentric that became a colorful, well-liked character that expanded his presence in different games of the series, making fourth wall jokes about hopping from game to game, unlike anything else. Genji Gloves. The Genji set of armor is one intended for samurais, but the way to obtain it is from stealing it from Gilgamesh. Not only the gloves, but the armor, helm and shield too. It became a recurring special set of armor in later games. Exdeath, Void Warlock, main antagonist of the game, a warlock that searches for the power of the void and return the world into nothingness, also known as a tree. If you flip the card, you have Neo Exdeath, Dimension's End, the final form of the final boss fight after being consumed by the void, designed by Nomura and establishing the body horror design of final bosses. Bartz and Voco. Bartz is introduced at the start of the game as a traveler, always next to his best friend the Chocobo Voco, so it's common to see them together. The text is his introduction when he first met two of his future companions, Lena and Galuf. Coral Sword. The illustration shows Faris, the fourth member, wearing her knight outfit, as this is a weapon exclusive to this job. In this game, the 5 playable characters are able to use any job class, and change outfits for each of them. Gaeli Cat, an enemy found at the North Mountains. A cat with bat wings attached like a kite. While very funny looking, the concept of a Gaeli cat would resolve in the creation of Ketchi later. Restoration Magic. While kinda generic healing magic spell, the illustration shows Krille, 5th and last party member, in her white mage outfit, which is famously cute because of those cat ears. Sandworm, the special enemy fight that resides at the Desert of Shifting Sands, that makes it usually impossible to go through it to reach the ruins of Gon until defeating it. Battle at the Big Bridge is a card that represents the first encounter and proper boss fight against Gilgamesh in the game with the full party, but also the name of his battle theme song, which is one of the most iconic ones in the entire series. Dawn Warrior's Legacy. The title of the card alludes to the concept that the 4 main playable characters in the second half of the game are the new Warriors of Light, with the Warriors of Dawn being the previous generation of their own world. That includes Galuf and Bart's father as the notable members. Evil Reawakened refers to the moment when Exdeath actually comes back, after being sealed for most of the first part of the game by the previous Warriors of Dawn in a cave in Bart's world. Galuf's final act. Spoiler alert for an important moment in the game. This card reflects the moment when Exdeath has everyone captured and Galuf, inspired by his granddaughter's safety, uses his power at the fullest to save everyone, fighting Exdeath alone until he retreats and sadly passes away after this, giving his place to Krille moving forward. Self-Destruct. It's another Gilgamesh card that shows his last moment in the game, appearing during a boss fight against Necrophob, and instead of battling us, proceed to take on the enemy, and while giving the full party some departing words, he self-destructs, destroying the boss and saving us. Swamp. This land card is an illustration of the Ship Graveyard, one of the first mini-dungeons of the game that ends with the boss fight against Siren. Gone Town of Ruin. It's actually a set of uninhabited ruins, but beneath there are ancient technology ruins with the Earth Crystal. The bottom text is an explanation of its history by Sid. Speaking of, Sid Timeless Artificer, a character whose main profession is being a scholar at the Library of the Ancients, but along with his own grandson Mid, they help you to discover some vehicles to travel through the world map. Airship, submarine, or all in one. Terra Branford, Terra Herald of Hope, and Terra Magical Adept. Final Fantasy VI wasn't made with a single main character in mind, but overall, Terra fits as the one at least in the first half of the game, appearing in the logo, opening iconic events, and the designated character for spin-offs. If you flip the card Terra Magical Adept, you get Esper Terra as a summon type of card, as she's the child of an Esper and a human. Locke Treasure Hunter and Locke Cole, the second playable character of the game and part of the Returners group that antagonized the Empire. Also commonly mistaken for a thief, he clearly is a treasure hunter. Edgar King of Figaro and Edgar Master Machinist, playable character that, while king of a desert kingdom, he's also part of the Returners and aids you escape from Kefka. He's considered a machinist because he has a disposal of tools to fight with in his gameplay. The bottom text alludes to an event that will be told in a later card. Savin Master Monk, Edgar's twin brother, is also playable and is the monk of the game. After leaving the kingdom, he became an apprentice of martial arts, but eventually joins the crew. Banon, the Returners' leader. As its name implies, he commands the group we take part in at the start, but he's more of a guest playable character, only participating in our way to the city of Narsh to fight Kefka for the first time. Celes, Rune Knight, playable character that could be considered the main character of the second half of the game, as we follow her to reunite with everyone else, a general that was part of the Empire and now works with us, having a charming dynamic with Locke during it. Shadow, Mysterious Assassin, playable character with a ninja job class. He usually works alone, so most of the time he joins as a hired mercenary for the mission. While he's not alone, he's always with his dog. Interceptor, Shadow's Hunt. While not a playable character, Interceptor will take part in the fights along Shadow, acting as a counterattack at points and a shield defending him from the attacks too. Cyan, Vengeful Samurai. playable character, main ruler of the Kingdom of Doma, that joins after Kefka's army plays dirty with his homeland. He is the samurai job class. Gao, feral youth, playable character met at the Belt. He is a boy raised in the wilderness, learning to mimic the behavior of the monsters there, so his speech is very unique and allows for fun interaction. His gameplay is a little bit of a berserk with some enemy abilities. Setzer, wandering gambler, playable character who will be the main pilot and airship owner of this game. He's an eccentric gambler, so his gameplay can involve the throw of darts and dices. Strago and Realm, a couple of playable characters stick together as they are grandpa and granddaughter. They both are from a town hiding their magic abilities. Strago is a blue mage using enemy spells, and Realm a sassy little artist that can manipulate enemies by drawing them, later known as Pictomancer. The card Realm's Sketching alludes to this ability, seeing Realm using her big brush to paint a dinosaur enemy in this case, and use the attacks of this against the others. Mog, Moogle Warrior. Mog is the only Moogle that becomes a party member to use later on, mostly known for being a dancer, but I personally like to use it as a dragoon with a lance, because I can. Umaro, Raging Yeti, a friend of Mog, hidden in the caves at the snowy town of Narshe. Optional playable character after being a boss fight that is a berserk, meaning that cannot be given commands and will always and only attack physically. Gogo, Mysterious Mime, and Gogo, Master of Mimicry. Optional playable character found at a special dungeon after being transported through a special monster encounter. His unique ability Mime means that he'll do exactly the same attack of the character that moved previously, allowing him to cast virtually anything. Kefka Palazzo, Kefka Dancing Mad, and Kefka Kurtmage, main antagonist of the game. The term Dancing Mad alludes not only to him, but also the name of his iconic final boss battle theme that lasts 18 minutes. If you flip Kurtmage, you get Kefka Rule of Ruin, showing him in his final form, phase 4 of the final boss of the game, after acquiring godhood status. The card Laughing Mad shows perfectly how much of a sane person he is. The illustration also shows Terra's iconic Magitech armor image, as she starts the game being manipulated by Kefka with his Hypno Crown. Merciless Poisoning is a card that also shows him poisoning the entire water supply of the citizens of Doma that kill them all, part of a special set called the Secret Lair Game Overs, which includes 5 iconic moments where the main antagonists of the game are doing some evil stuff, so it's pretty fitting. Summon Esper Baligarmanda, summon card of the very first Esper we see in the game. During the first mission we discover the frozen body of this big bird called Baligarmanda, that later in the game we can get and use its 3 elemental attack. Retrieve the Esper shows the Magitech armor troops of the enemy empire searching in the snowy town of Narshe, one of the Espers, so they can control the legendary magical creatures of the world absent of magic, and get a hold of this power. Search of the Frozen Esper shows explicitly the moment where during this mission a mind-controlled Terra along Soldier's Peaks and Wedge find Baligarmanda. The connection between Terra and the Espers will trigger an explosion and the start of her story. Moogle's Valor. In the first section of the game, Terra falls into a cave, and when the Empire wants to retrieve her, it's a group of Moogles that you are able to control and fight with that defeat the enemy and save her until Locke arrives. You can see Terra unconscious in the background of this illustration. Magitech Armor shows a little bit more of this special type of army that the Empire has with their Magitech weapons, that you get to fight while escaping Figaro or at Doma. Palace Jailer. When you are in Figaro Castle, you can visit a prison underground. There is a chance to talk to one of them, a wolf known as Lone Wolf the Pickpocket, that later will escape and you'll see him in different parts of the game. That's why the illustration has him and the Figaro Guard. Stolen Uniform. The moment where Locke, while attempting to rescue Celes as she is being a prisoner for treason at South Figaro, dresses as one of the guards to infiltrate around and rescue her. Poison the Waters refers to the event at Doma where Kefka, instead of fighting head-on, decides to poison the water supplies, a thing that horrorized not only his enemies but also many of his allies at the Empire. This is deemed as a war crime, something like breaking the Geneva Convention. The bottom text of the card can show you even more of the cruelness of this moment. Ruinous Ultimatum. If that wasn't clear enough, this card shows his madness with the town of Doma burning in the background, with one of his mania quotes featuring on it. Phantom Train. This is a very peculiar boss fight involving Sabin, Cyan and Shadow. Originally this train found at the Phantom Forest carries ghosts and the souls of the people who died to the afterlife. but at the end of this dungeon, the train itself becomes the boss fight while our characters run away constantly. Suplex. It's this same boss fight, but a specific moment so iconic that became one of the biggest jokes in the series, as this is one of the few cases where the boss is vulnerable to the Sabin special move Suplex, where you can literally make him lift the whole train and dunking it into the floor, as if it's nothing. Knight's Whisper. At the previous Doma battle, where you meet Cyan, both his son and wife gets killed during it. So later, arriving at the phantom train that carries the soul of the dead, Cyan sees both of their spirits living on it. He tries to catch up, but he can't, and his wife Elaine gives those last words. Wayfarer's Bauble. The moment where Gau and his instincts help him find his lost treasure exploring the Crescent Mountain Cave at the south of the belt with Sabin and Cyan, which allow them to make progress by going underwater. Morbid Opportunist and Hill Gigas reflects the town of Soso, which has the peculiarity that despite being a town, it has random encounters as it's filled with bandits and monsters. The illustration shows the enemy Harvester and a suspicious phrase from one of its residents, and the enemy Hill Gigas with its big size. Summon Esper Ramuh, a summon card of the old sage that controls the lightning element. In this game, he is also the Esper that reveals the truth to us about Terra, and unlocks the ability to use them in battle. Esper Origin tells the origin story of Terra's birth. We learn about her father Maduin meeting a human girl at the Esper world and eventually getting together until her birth, before the Empire invades them and takes baby Terra while her parents pass away. If you flip this one, we have the summon card Maduin properly, as Terra's father is an Esper and can be used as a summon. Opera Love Song. One of the most iconic moments in the game and series. Celeste changes places with Maria, an opera singer, as someone will try to kidnap her and proceed to be part of a play. The bottom text is part of the lyrics of the song. Ultros of Noxious Octopus is a recurring boss fight during the game, starting at the opera house which the illustration shows. It mostly has some comedic effect when he appears, but can get nasty towards us. Monarch is an artifact card that shows the throne of the twin brothers from Figaro, and if you flip it, there's the airship known as the Blackjack, owned by Setzer in this first part of the game. Ruin Grinder, an enemy that appears while we are escaping through the Magitech research facility railroads. There's different color variations from this same enemy. Anger shows the bomb type of enemy, but specifically about the moment when the Tamasa mansion starts burning down because of them with Realm inside, and Strago pleading to help her while revealing that the citizens can use magic. Battle Menu shows the classic layout of a battle gameplay in older games, with 4 party members on the right looking at the monster on the left, and the common possible commands: attack, a special ability for the character, magic, and items. Mortify shows the power of an Esper and the desire of the Empire troops to get their power as it fights back. I'm not sure, but this might be the moment at the cave near Tamasa where the Espers with more generic designs were hiding and not trusting any humans. General Leo Christoph is a general of the Empire, but unlike Kefka, he shows pride and respect to his enemies, helping us properly and fighting the Emperor back when they fake a peace deal to capture the Espers. Espers to Magicite is precisely the moment where Kefka and Emperor Gestalt start to reveal their true intentions, capturing the remaining Espers into these crystals called Magicite, starting to fulfill their objective. Snort. When reaching the floating iceland by airship to stop those two, you fight a bunch of Imperial troops. And finally another fight with Ultros, but this time brings a friend, Typhoon, whose attack Snort will send us flying to more fights before reaching the island. Warring Triad. 3 statues of the gods of magic, Demon, Fiend and Goddess, that resides at this floating continent, and their alignment keep the world stable, which is what Kefka threatens. Reanimate shows this intention of breaking the balance of the world's magic to bring fear and create a world of ruin. Gestalt wanted to manipulate this power to control the world, but Kefka had other plans, more destructive ones, and even killed his own emperor. Crackling Doom is probably the coolest Emperor Gestalt has ever looked, and judging by the phrase on the bottom, it's him attempting to use the power of the Warring Triad against Kefka during this clash, but eventually he is defeated. The Devil. When the world starts to fall into ruin because of the power of the gods that Kefka triggered with no control whatsoever, the airship that we use also starts to break down as everyone in the party gets separated during this event, known as the day the world ended. Light of Judgment. After this event, Kefka with his new godlike power stays at the top of his tower and dictates judgment with his destructive ray. This card and its text shows him destroying the town of Moblis. Kefka's Tower will be the established stronghold from that point forward, and later will serve as the final dungeon of the game, only accessible through air. Talisman of Conviction. This artifact card represents the start of the second part of the game that has Celes as the main character to follow to reunite everyone. It started when finding Locke's bandana as a sign to not lose faith after thinking or trying to commit suicide at the near mountain. Rejoin the Fight shows the moment in the second half of the game where Terra, who refused to continue the journey, unleashed her Esper powers to help Celes defeat the monster Humbaba shown in the illustration to defend an orphanage she was staying at, taking care of the kids who consider her their mama. Pitiless Plunderer. The prisoners at Figaro return, but this time they will help Edgar without realizing it in a mission to explore a hidden castle underground, in our mission to get him back. Coin of Fate shows the moment where Edgar, seeing that his twin brother Savin is hesitant to be the heir of the kingdom after watching his father die, proposes the toss of a coin to grant him the freedom of his responsibilities and be the Soul King instead. Sun Titan. Card of the boss fight Rexall, found inside Cyan's dreams due to his despair when revisiting Doma, as this enemy is formed by the countless souls of those killed in the War of the Magi. Siegfried, famed swordsman. This mysterious person is a recurring character appearing in the game, but the real one is found at the Colosseum taking part in some fights and is a boss fight, with Mega Elixir as the reward. Stitched Together. After finding Shadow, there's a chance that you get to see his backstory while sleeping at the inn. The illustration shows his ninja look, his past with his brother in arms, Interceptor and his future wife finding him. He may have a daughter and she may be a party member, but that's up to you to find. Priest of Fell Rites. It's a group of heretics that worship Kefka that exists in the place known as Cultist Tower or Tower of Fanatics, the place where you reunite with Strago if you have Realm, and also the dungeon I hate the most. Legions to Ashes. Speaking of Strago, this card shows his magical potential in action, with the phrase on the bottom being the one after reuniting with him at the tower. Sepulchral Primordial. This monster is an optional boss after recruiting Strago in this part of the game. In the past, he and a friend tried to hunt the monster without success, so now in present time we are able to do so. Big Score has Locke finding an Esper Magicite, the Phoenix one specifically, as he wants to bring back his past love who passed away. It has a small crack, which means that this won't work and he learns to move on. Stitcher's Supplier. This is a card of a more basic random enemy encounter found at this Phoenix Cave. It's the Necromancer enemy whose attack is able to grant the party the zombie status effect, that's why it's a description on the card. Archfiend of Depravity is the optional boss fight called Death Gaze. It keeps flying, so there's a random chance that you encounter it while flying with the airship later in the game. The fight can take a couple of tries before it actually dies. Flayer of the Hatebound. It's about the enemy Mod Sud, at least from my understanding. It's a color palette version of Humbaba and is found in one room at Kefka's Tower, which is the last dungeon of the game. Combustible Gearhulk. Considered the most powerful Magitech war machine, created to defend the Imperial Palace and a proper boss fight at the final dungeon. You are able to trigger an impossible fight if you challenge it earlier in the game. Rise of the Dark Realms. The whole squad being ready to defy and face Kefka at the top of his tower for the final showdown. Angel of Ruins. Kefka's final boss fight is separated in 4 phases. The first 3 is against the structure known as Statue of Gods. The card shows Lady and Rest, that represent Mary and Jesus, being the third and last tier of the fight. Tragic Arrogance shows the design of the 4th and final phase of Kefka's final boss fight, after he becomes a god of magic himself. Now for the land cards. Rouge Passage, referring to the Narshe Caves, the first dungeon you visit at the start of the game, but specifically the passage Terra uses to escape from the town without being captured. Nomad Outpost, the Returners' hideout where we meet the leader Bannon, with a table to discuss the next move before going back to Narshe. Sun-Scorched Divide, the Empire troops at their camp outside of the castle of Doma, before the fight against it. Fetid Heath, the spooky phantom forest where you find the phantom train with all the ghosts that you can interact with. Desolate Mire, the Veld, the white land where Gau lives and is described by Cyan in the card. He and Savin find Gau here. High Market, the port town of Nicaea, known for the markets and ship services, connected with the town of South Figaro, and connected to the belt by the underwater Serpent Trench. Jidur, aristocratic capital, is a town that the higher the terrain, more upper-class members are found. It's known for its auction house and mansions. Shadow Blood Ridge and Vector Imperial Capital. Both cards refer to the Empire capital called Vector, a stronghold that is almost impossible to infiltrate, and you can visit properly only after a ceasefire. Smoldering Marsh and Isolated Chapel shows first the dungeon or path prior and then the proper entrance of the Sealed Gate, a secret place that links our world with the world of the Espers and Magic. Foreboding Ruins shows the scene of the Tamasa building burning down in the distance to save Realm from it. Sacred Peaks, a shot of the floating continent that emerges with the 3 statues of the gods of magic on top of it, which is why the text on the bottom is when the Emperor finds them. Command Tower is a card that exists for different games. Here is Kefka's Tower, the final dungeon of the game that is available at the World of Ruin, but only by air with an airship. Graven Cairns shows the tomb of Daryl, Setzer's old friend and rival who passed away in an airship accident that we'll inherit in the second part of the game. Dragon's Call Summit. Final Fantasy VI has special optional bosses in the World of Ruin. If you defeat the 8 legendary dragons, you unlock the Esper Crusades, which the card's text alludes to. Mountain. This seems to be the Mount Soso where you find Cyan in the World of Ruin, writing letters to a woman pretending to be her lost lover to give her fake comfort. Ash Barrens is a special optional place of a lost ancient castle destroyed by a previous war, where you can see a little of its backstory and get the Espers Odin and Raiden. Sulphurous Springs and Geothermal Bog refers to a mountain with the form of a star and a hidden treasure found within. This would be the dungeon where Locke finds the Esper Phoenix at the end. And finally, the last Final Fantasy VI card, Sid, Timeless Artificer, showing Banana Sid, the engineer or scientist of the Empire, who Celes considers her own grandfather later, so he's not that bad. Cloud Strife. Cloud, Midgar Mercenary, Planet's Champion, and ex-soldier, all for the protagonist of the game. Presented as an ex-soldier, the highest rank of the military program, but now working as a mercenary. Cloud's Limit Break shows the ultimate weapon you can get in the game, and 3 of Cloud's potential attacks are the ones shown in the card, although the illustration is showing the most powerful one, Omnislash. Hero's Blade and Buster Sword are both to refer to the iconic first weapon that is part of Cloud's iconography, even if you can replace it very early on the game. It has a special connection to him and who inherited from, while Cloud's Buster Sword is specifically from the set of cards Secret Lair, and the category dedicated to the iconic weapons specifically. Ultima Weapon is specifically the potential most powerful weapon Cloud can get in the game. It has the gimmick that the more HP you have, the bigger the damage you deal. Barret Wallace and Barret, Avalanche Leader, second playable character since the first mission, leader of this section of the eco-terrorist group Avalanche, but more importantly, he is a single father of a child called Marlene. Wrecking Ball Arm. Barret uses guns attached to his arm as weapons, but sometimes can get some physical weapons like it's this Wrecking Ball. Tifa Lockhart and Tifa Martial Artist, the third playable character, Cloud's childhood friend from the town of Nibelheim, current owner of the bar Seventh Heaven and the martial artist of the game, making her the first female monk of the series. Lightning Greaves shows her red boots and her acrobatic maneuvers that define her gameplay overall, although her weapons are the gloves. Memories of Nibelheim is an official render of Tifa sitting atop of the water tower of Nibelheim, reminiscing about the past where she and Cloud made a promise there under the stars. Tifa's Limit Break. This is her special ability, which is mostly a combo attack. If you land on the right slot, you unleash a flurry of attacks. Somersault is the attack in the illustration, and Final Heaven her finishing and strongest blow. Aerith Greensboro and Aerith Last Ancient, the next playable character, a flower seller from the slums, but we then find out she's the last member of an ancient race known as Cetra or Ancients. Sword of Animist shows her staff that uses as a weapon. Mostly she focuses on magic, just like the flower shield she's casting in the illustration. Aerith's Kuraga Magic is a special card from the set Secret Lair, specifically the group Grimoire, that focuses on magic abilities. Kuraga is mostly the most powerful healing spell. Red 13, Proud Warrior. This lion wolf friend is also a playable character, one of the few of his race, and tries to be serious and mature, but he's actually pretty young. Hero's Heirloom is his weapon of choice in the original game, although in current releases, the chosen weapon is the collar he uses. Yuffie Kisaragi and Yuffie Materia Hunter, originally optional playable character. a ninja from Utai who focuses on getting or stealing materia to bring her nation back to full glory. Conformer Shuriken is specifically her ultimate weapon in the game, with the gimmick that deals more damage the higher the enemy's level is. Also great to morph enemies. Ketchi Fortune Teller, another playable character that is not that common, a sentient robocat controlling a giant mock puppet. Its gameplay focuses on slots and luck. Colossus Hammer shows him fighting at the Battle Square arena of the theme park Gold Saucer against this enemy's Hellrider BR2, which you can fight at the final round. Vincent Valentine and Vincent Vengeful Atoner, second optional playable character of the game. He's mostly a Halloween reference, as he has vampire looks, was experimented on making him immortal, and transforms into horror creatures in his limit breaks. If you flip the card Vincent Valentine, you have Gallian Beast, a werewolf-like type of creature he transforms into. Trailblazer's boot shows his fancy outfit. I don't exactly know why, but in the illustration we see the Crystal Cave, a place with an important meaning for him to unlock his backstory later in the game. Vincent's Limit Break. Vincent's special ability is transforming into one of 4 Halloween-based monsters. Gallian Beast is like a werewolf, Death Gigas is like Frankenstein, and Hellmasker like Jason. Chaos Warp shows his final and most powerful transformation, becoming a demonic creature known as Chaos, also inspired by the first boss of the franchise. Sid Free Flyer Pilot is the last party member of the game, not to be confused with Sid Timeless Artificial. He will, of course, be the pilot and airship owner of the game, but also a dragoon, sharing the last name Highwind. Explorer's Scope highlights his goggles, as he has more of a traditional aviator look. In the reflection we see the final airship of the game, the Highwind. Zack Fair, a soldier first class, previous owner of the Buster Sword. He doesn't appear in the game in present time, but his past inspired a big part of the events or characters. Reno and Rude and Elena Turk Recruit, they're all recurrent enemies and boss fights that work for Shinra and are part of the Turks, a group like the special agents of the company, Elena being the newest. Heidegger, Shinra Executive, one of the executives of Shinra that controls the manpower of the company, like the Turks and the military. Professor Hojo, another executive of Shinra who controls the scientific program, and as you would expect from a mad scientist, he can be blamed for most of the things going on. Sephiroth the Savior, Sephiroth Fallen Hero, Planet's Heir, and Fabled Soldier all represent the main antagonist of the game. He was a soldier known as the War Hero and Greatest Warrior who disappeared mysteriously 5 years ago, after finding out about his origins and the body of his mother. If you flip the card Fabled Soldier, you get Sephiroth One-Winged Angel, the final form of his final boss fight at the end of the game, title which is given to him and also name of his boss battle theme. The Masamune is Sephiroth's iconic sword of choice. While this blade is a common one for samurais to wield in different games, it's often associated with him. And Meteor Fall is part of the Secret Lair Game Over kit, as later on he summons the ultimate destructive spell Meteor, that threatens to destroy the planet for a big part of the second half of the game. Summoning Materia. Summons also exist in Final Fantasy VII, but they don't have lore implications. They are summoned by orbs called Materia, same as any magic or ability. The red materia is for this, and the illustration shows Bahamut. Summon Choco Mog, the first summon obtained in the game at the Chocobo farm after a nice dance. The attack is a Chocobo stampede, while a Moogle is riding one of them and has a comedic impact. Summon Fat Chocobo is a special animation that can happen with a 6% chance while using the Choco Mog summon. Instead of the stampede, a chunky Chocobo will fall down into the enemy. This version became its separate summon in the remake. Kujata, a summon card of a bull with multiple horns and eyes that only appeared in this game and its remake. Based on a creature of Arabic mythology, same as Ifrit or Bahamut. Similar to Baligarmanda, has a 3 elemental attack. Knights of the Round, the most iconic summon that is Final Fantasy VII specific. It's the most powerful one and harder to find in the world. 12 knights and King Arthur will take turns to attack the enemy for high damage. Scorpion Sentinel, first boss fight in the first mission of the game, the bombing of a Mako reactor. The bottom text is what Cloud tells Barry during the fight, but because of a spelling mistake, he is suggesting the wrong thing, as you will receive big damage if you follow it. Avalanche of Sector 7 showcases the most important members of the Avalanche team and close friends to Barret and Tifa, Wedge, Jessie and Biggs. Vandal Blast. The very first mission in the game is the explosion of a Mako reactor with Avalanche. This card shows Cloud escaping through it after the explosions, and his words at the bottom is him trying to sound cool to Tifa when he's back at the bar. Weapon Vendor refers specifically to a shop at the Sector 7 slums that serves as your home base. The illustration is from the remake, where you get your second sword for Cloud. Cultivate shows Aerith and her hobby that is to tend flowers at the church. Where she lives in the slums, this is one of the few places where flowers actually grow, so she takes care of them for years. Gilded Lotus seems to be a promo card for the Secret Lair set, focusing on that flower that grows at the church and Aerith sells. Conqueror's Flail is the first encounter with the Turk Reno at Aerith Church after properly meeting her. In the remake, this is a boss fight. Clever Concealment. Tifa infiltrates to get information from Corneo, a disgusting crime lord of Wall Market, so Aerith and Cloud decide to join later. Of course, Cloud has to go through some makeup to fit with the plan. Professional Facebreaker. This enemy is the bandit found at the collapsed expressway of Sector 6, a more lawless terrain in the slums. Heli Trooper, enemy that shares the card name, fought first while climbing the stairs of the Sector 7 pillar with Cloud and Tifa to stop the Turks of dropping the plate. Shinra Reinforcements and Bastion Protector showcase the grants of Shinra's main military force. The more generic ones are the blue with white helmet, while the other colors have higher rank and strength. Soldier Military Program is a special type of soldiers that are above the average people and have their own ranks, being first class the most powerful and exclusive group. Decimate is the destruction of Sector 7 after the plate was dropped, with HQ in the background. On the bottom there are words from President Shinra to one of his executives, Reeve, to justify his reasons. Austere Command is precisely Reeve arguing this with the President and Heidegger, as he's one of the very few trying to actually help people from the inside. Pure Steel Paladin, a lower class soldier that you fight while climbing through the destruction of Sector 7 as Cloud, Tifa and Barret are heading to HQ to save Aerith. Aerith Rescue Mission. Once inside the building, you have two options: be boring and take the elevator to floor 60, or take the stairs and run through all of them with fun interactions, with Tifa being on the lead as the picture shows. Inspiring Statuary. While infiltrating through Shinra HQ, the higher floors will have their unique designs, like Shinra's own museum. Rufus Shinra. At the top of the building, Shinra's president is killed by the Masamune, and Rufus Shinra, his son, proceed to take his position, having a boss fight against him and his pet Darkstar. Valkyrie Aerial Unit. While escaping HQ after the events that happened at the top, Barret, Aerith and Red had a boss fight involving this aerial unit. In the remake it's fought earlier though. Dispatch. The proper escape sequence. Cloud takes a bike, while Tifa drives a 3-wheel truck carrying Barret, Aerith and now Red 13. Reach the Horizon. Illustration based on the official render for Final Fantasy VII Remake that shows the end of the road after escaping from HQ, as the party is ready to leave Midgar, the city of Mako. Jenova Ancient Calamity, a parasite alien that was found 2000 years ago and her cells have been experimented with since. Able to manipulate people and shapeshift, she is considered Sephiroth's mother as he was partially created with her DNA. Resentful Revelation. In a flashback scene 5 years ago, Sephiroth discovers that he is not human but the product of an experiment with Jenova, and its cells within him awakens his dormant madness. Nibelheim Aflame shows the moment before he went to search for Jenova's body, burning the whole city of Nibelheim down, including Cloud and Tifa's families, which triggered an iconic scene in the game. Mask of Memory reflects the moment when Sephiroth finds her for the first time. The illustration is the statue that covered her real body being thrown away by him. Skullclamp reveals the true face of Jenova for the first time, hidden at the Nibelheim reactor 5 years ago before the start of the game. Traveling Chocobo. The many colorful chocobos to collect. While chocobos exist in most games, Final Fantasy VII has them being different colors according to what terrain they are able to go through, like rivers or mountains, with the gold one being limitless. Called the Mountain Chocobo and Black Chocobo show two variations of obtainable chocobos precisely focusing on the terrain they can run through. If you flip Black Chocobo, there's side quest Raise a Chocobo, as you can make them breed in this game to get new variations and stats. Behemoth Sledge is mostly to highlight one of the possible joke weapons you get in the game. In this case for Cloud he has a nail bat instead of a sword. Eject, boss fight with the giant serpent Midgardsorm at the marsh. This enemy is overleveled when you first encounter it, and can even yeet one of your party members during the fight, like here with Aerith. Chocobo Racetrack. One of the minigames at the Gold Saucer is the Chocobo Racing minigame, that you can participate in with your own. The illustration shows Joe and his black Chocobo Hypelo, known as the best jockey in the land. Bugenhagen, Wise Elder. An elder from the village of Cosmo Canyon, Red 13 Grandpa, and reliable advisor that will explain how the planet in the world of Final Fantasy VII works. Nature's Lore. The previously mentioned Bugenhagen explained at his lab how the lifestream works in this planet. When someone dies, his soul returns to the planet, to the stream of life beneath, which grants the soul when someone is born, creating a cycle of life. Fight On. The boss fight against the Materia Keeper at Mount Nibel in present time. The name of the card alludes to the English boss fight theme song from this game. Secret Rendezvous. When returning to the Gold Saucer, you have the option to go to a date depending on some choices. So there's a card for all of them: Barret, Tifa, Aerith, and Yuffie. Hellkite Tyrant. The Red Dragon is a boss fight at the Temple of the Ancient, guarding the room where the Black Materia is. Sephiroth's Intervention. A big spoiler for Final Fantasy VII, is another key moment at the end of Disc 1, where he shows up to stab Aerith from behind as she was praying to activate the spell Holy, killing her. Harmonize. Here we see that moment, but from a different angle, with Aerith praying before he appears to kill her. Champion's Helm and Dark Steel Plate are two cards that represent for me the biggest plot twist of this game, showing a Grant holding his helmet in one, and Cloud in the past while wearing the Grant uniform. The phrase on the bottom is from when he uses it again in present time to infiltrate in Junon. Bronze Guardian. It's an enemy called simply Guardian found at the Junon underwater reactor near the submarine, just like the illustration shows. Diamond Weapon. In this game there are big kaiju monsters based on Gundams called the Weapons. This card is the Diamond Weapon, as they have mostly gem names. Vanquish the Horde shows the moment where Diamond Weapon launches its attack toward the city of Midgar, causing the destruction of Shinra HQ and possibly Rufus himself. Unfinished Business has the full Turk squad assembled, and while I'm not sure it shows the moment specifically, it could be the last time you see them in the game, where you have the option of fighting them or leaving them. Furious Rise, the last executive to mention, Scarlet, that focuses on weaponry. The illustration shows her at her last boss fight appearance, as you fight her while she is inside the big mechanical robot, the Proud Cloth. Lifestream's Blessing. At the end of the final dungeon, at the core of the planet, we see the ultimate spell Holy being locked because of Sephiroth's presence, before the final fight against him. Ultimate Magic Holy and Ultimate Magic Meteor show the final sequence after defeating the final boss, where Sephiroth's spell Meteor and Aerith's spell Holy interact, now that it's no longer locked, with the help of the planet itself and the livestream. Rampant Growth shows the epilogue 500 years later, the post-credit scene of Red 13 and his children watching the landscape of what was once Midgar, with a Bugenhagen phrase to help contextualize the meaning of it. Now with the land cards. Command Tower. In this case is a shot of Shinra HQ. The bottom text is a presentation at the upper floor's exhibitions. Midgar, City of Mako, shows the whole city, who is divided in 8 sectors like a pizza, with Shinra HQ in the middle and the slums literally under the plates. Plains is for Tifa's bar at the Sector 7 slums, 7th Heaven. Slayer's Stronghold. It's also 7th Heaven, but the secret room underground, which is the Avalanche hideout. After the first mission, you see the report on the TV of it. Firelit Thicket shows the entrance of Corneo Mansion, located at the end of Wall Market, an entertainment district without much order. Spire of Industry is a closer shot of Shinra HQ, as Cloud, Tifa and Barret get ready to raid it, mostly known for the original cover. Sandgrass Prairie and Bonder's Enclave both refers to the Chocobo farm, seeing it from the outside, and also the stable where you can save your own bird friends. Rootbound Crag. South of the farm, there's a marsh that you can't go through without a Chocobo because there's a huge snake. After going through it, the party finds one of the snakes killed, and this moment with Cloud's question remains as a meme. Fortified Village. This town, known as Fort Condor, is an optional place to have a minigame like a tower defense game to help the villagers and the Condor. Battlefield Forge is a wide shot of the city of Junon, located at the shore and military prepared, as you can see with the huge cannon. Rugged Prairie is the train tracks and path before arriving to Corel, an old coal mining town, and home place of Barret and Marlene. Fury Column Snarl shows this same place but with trains working later in the game. The bottom text is when Sid is the party leader and has to catch up a Shinra train. The Gold Saucer, the happiest place on the planet, a fuel amusement park and a place to play all the minigames like Chocobo Racing. Game Trail, inside the Gold Saucer, this is the Wonder Square, a place to play all the traditional arcade-looking games. Gongaga Reactor Town, a town in the middle of the forest. In the past, a reactor exploded, making this a somber place, hometown of Zack Fair. Path of Ancestry, the end of a sealed cave at Cosmo Canyon, where Red 13 father, Seto, is petrified after fighting to protect the valley. Clifftop Retreat, the reactor at top of Mount Neville, where Genova was found earlier, and with a fragile, scary bridge to reach it. Mossfire Valley, a village that was formed around a rocket that was going to be launched but it was cancelled, hometown of Sid Highwind. Cinderglade, the city of Utai, a traditional-looking town, historically at war with Midgar and Shinra, and hometown of Yuffie Kisaragi. Jungle Shrine, the hidden temple of the ancients in the middle of the jungle. Here lies the secret that Shinra and Sephiroth are looking for, like the Black Materia. Canopy Vista, the spring town of Midil, located at the south and a place where the livestream is near the surface, far away from any metropolis. Wooded Ridgeline, a secret location in the later half of the game, a mysterious forest to solve puzzles and unlock special summons and weapons. And Sid, Timeless Artificer, not to be confused with Sid Free Flyer Pilot. This one has Sid on top of his favorite plane, the Tiny Bronco. Squall Lionheart and Squall Sid Mercenary, protagonist of the game, student at the Balamb Garden Mercenary School. He's like a toy soldier. Lionheart is the Squall's ultimate weapon name and also most powerful limit break attack. His spirit animal is the lion and you see that in different things. Rinoa Heartily, playable character and Squall's love interest. She's the only one that didn't train at one of the Garden Academies. Angelo is Rinoa's pet dog that will take part in her gameplay too. It can counter-attack but mostly appears on her limit breaks attacks. Cell Dingth, playable character from Balamb Garden. He's very cheerful and is the monk of the group, fan of hot dogs apparently. Kistis Treb, while similar in age as everyone, she's the mature member of Balamb Garden and even started as an instructor there. She can be a blue mage and uses a whip. Cypher Almasi, the anti-hero of the game and Squall's rival. He's playable only for a bit, but is more known for being an enemy and boss fight as he has the dream to be the Sorcerer's Knight. Edea Kramer. Edea is a mysterious sorcerer appointed as Galbadia ambassador and our main antagonist the first half of the game. Later, it's revealed her true identity and her connection with the party members. Ultimecia Temporal Threat and Ultimecia Time Sorceress, main antagonist and final boss of the game. She is known for her time control and how she can manifest her sorcerer's power into other women like Edea or Rinoa through time. If you flip Time Sorceress, there's Ultimecia Omnipotent in her final form during the final boss of the game. Absorb into Time is part of the Circuit Layer Game Over set, showcasing the villains of the series and their achievements. Ultimecia's ultimate goal is known as time compression, altering time-space as we know it. Summon Guardian Force Cerberus. Summons are called Guardian Force in this game. Cerberus is based on the underworld three-headed dog, and its ability is to double or triple your commands. Summon Guardian Force Ifrit. Not the first summon we can use, but the first one we can meet in the world and have a boss fight with, as part of our first Seed exam with Kistis as our guide. Relentless X-ATM-092 is the special boss fight at the Siege of Dolet mission. Most of the time it's an unbeatable fight, and the objective is to escape from it back to the shore, where Kistis can deal the finishing blow instead. But it's possible to actually defeat it and live peacefully. Balamb T-Rexor. This is a normal enemy found at Balam's Garden, but it's highly overleveled when you can first encounter it with the Squall and Kistis at the start of the game. That's why Kistis suggests to run in the bottom text. Triple Triad, the main minigame of Final Fantasy VIII, the card game that is featured in Final Fantasy XIV, and have become a meme because as Squall, you can ask almost everyone and at every time if they wanna play card games. Dreams of Laguna. When visiting his past, Laguna takes a break at a bar in Galbadia with his friends Kiros and Ward to see a pianist called Julia that he had a crush on. In the bottom text, his friends are convincing or teasing him to go talk to her. Memories Returning. One of the twists in this game is that most of the party members were raised together at an orphanage by Edea, but with the use of summons, they started losing their memories about it, until they recollect them together. Jumbo Cactuar. Cactuars in Final Fantasy are known for its evasion rate and its attack 1000 needles that do 1000 HP. In Final Fantasy VIII, there's the Jumbo version which does 10,000 HP. A Promise Fulfilled. A scene taken from the game when Squall rescued Rinoa from the Sorcerer's Memorial, after capturing her because she was labeled as one by Ultimecia, and works as the logo of the game. Lunatic Pandora. This is a structure built around a crystal pillar that fell from the moon, made by the sorcerer Adele as a way to call creatures from the moon upon Earth to wreak havoc. At the end of this dungeon, you'll fight Adele. Poo-Poo UFO. A kinda secret random encounter is going to be a spaceship flying with different objects. After a while, it crashes and reveals the enemy inside, the Poo-Poo, who asked for elixirs instead of fighting. Sorceress Schemes has Ultimecia looking fabulous at her throne in her castle when you meet her at the final fight of the game, greeting you as the bottom text shows. Balamb Garden, the academy to train Seed members that serves as home base for the first part of the game and turns into the ship to travel the world map, funny enough. Iceland. This landscape is the shore at Edea's orphanage, the place where Squall, Quistis, Cell, Selphie, Irvine and Cypher grew up, under Edea's care. And finally for this video, Seed Timeless Artificer, the director of Balamb Garden, Sid Kramer, Edea's husband. Funny enough, while not a pilot, his establishment turns into an airship nonetheless. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you for part 2 eventually. Love you.